WrestleMania 39 is in the books, definitely one for the ages, and we'll get to the results and stuff like that in a minute. But Brandon, I mean, a lot of people saw my videos and reviews. Brandon, what were your takeaways from WrestleMania as a whole, without getting in like the specific results?
It was to me. It was a hell of a weekend as a wrestling fan. It was just it was a lot of fun. Well, I mean, obviously we'll get the specifics, but to me, from start to finish, I think I got to watch night one with a good friend, a former partner on the Heel to the Face podcast. Got to hang out with Paul and his fiance and their little one this past weekend, and we had a good time on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. The matches were great, and Sunday rolled in also really good. I know we'll get to a lot of the details, but social media was ablaze this past weekend, and obviously this week after Mania. So I'm feeling really good right now. Well, I was feeling really good about where things stand with the business until some recent news has come out. But overall, I thought the weekend was pretty good.
No, I thought, without a doubt, I mean, this WrestleMania, it felt as big as a WrestleMania can get. And I will say, I've been kind of somebody who has spoken about the one night WrestleManias in the sense of I feel like they try to use the stadiums more. Like last year, for example, they were only getting about 75,000. And I understand that's an announced number, and that might have been what they got for WrestleMania 32. But the point is they announced 100 for WrestleMania 32. And I thought that was a little more impressive than, a couple nights of 70,000. But I will say at SoFi Stadium, that looked like WrestleMania. And what I mean by that is if it was a one night WrestleMania, there wouldn't have been one more person they could have fit in there. There wouldn't have been one more person who would have went. They filled in behind the stage. They filled in all the places, which we haven't seen yet with these two night WrestleManias because one was just coming out of the pandemic. Raymond James Stadium obviously wasn't fit to capacity. And then, like I said, at AT&T Stadium, they knew that that was a big undertaking. So they were just kind of trying for 70,000 each night and even maybe high 60s. And I think that's what they were trying for here in the 60,000s. But I think, each night looked as if WrestleMania was one night and, they had to put on a one night show, aesthetically it would look exactly the same and the crowd would have been the exact same size. The place was as full as it could be for both nights at SoFi Stadium. One negative about SoFi Stadium, I guess, is the fact that it is a outdoor stadium with a roof on it. In Los Angeles, I know, they've got some good weather going on normally, but it was a little bit chilly, and as the sun went down, it was not that warm. And I know next year in Philadelphia, it is going to not be warm at all. But I guess I'll be more prepared and dressed for the weather, as I wasn't really dressed for the weather in the sense of you don't think you have to in Southern California. And one obviously aspect of being on the West Coast is the fact that it doesn't get nighttime until about 8 or 9 o'clock. And with WrestleMania starting at 5 o'clock, a lot of those matches, the Hell in a Cell match and Edge's entrance and some other stuff like that happened in the daytime. And I think that kind of takes away from it a little bit. And not talking about the sale at all, but one thing I did notice is the pyro budget. It's kind of funny that Kevin Hart in the intro kind of joked about the pyro budget, but I think the pyro actually was a lot less this year than it had been for previous WrestleManias. A good example is we've seen last year's WrestleMania or even at Raymond James Stadium the year before, doing the whole exterior fireworks, where they show the aerial shot of the stadium and the fireworks coming off the stadium. They didn't do that at all this year. I mean, I think the only times you saw pyro was in the main event and of both nights, the post-main event of both nights. And then I think during the Rey Mysterio, there was like a little bit of pyro, and there might have been some like post Rhea Ripley, but there was no, and that's with WrestleMania, there was no opening pyro for either night. So that's why you expect kind of similar to Dallas where there wasn't really opening pyro. So you're saying, okay, they're going to do the big fireworks show when they announce the attendance. They're going to do the big fireworks show, before the main event. And they didn't do that. There was no exterior fireworks. There was no big pyrotechnics, outside of an entrance at all. And I think that had to do with what we were talking about prior to WrestleMania, where they were talking about how they were going to put on a WrestleMania that was, I guess, the most cost efficient WrestleMania that they could do. So I think that took away a little bit. And I don't want to see that becoming a trend going forward. We'll talk about that, in the sale perspective. But I enjoyed both nights of WrestleMania, and I have to say, if we could get right into it, I am a big fan of them picking Roman Reigns to win the match. And I can say this much, and I would have been happy either way. I would have been happy with Cody. I would have been happy with Roman Reigns because I was expecting Cody to win the match. But I will say to all the people out there that think, about Cody winning the match, and them being, disappointed and saying, the wrong person won, the wrong result happened. You can't really have that in wrestling. Once in a while, I guess there are some times where you could have the wrong result, but I don't think in this sense you have the wrong result. This wasn't Doink the Clown beating Cody Rhodes. This was Roman Reigns, who is the Rock, John Cena, the Stone Cold, the Batista of today. Okay, so him becoming the winner, regardless of if it was Cody Rhodes' time or Cody Rhodes should have won, regardless of that, your alternative was still a big name. It's like Stone Cold versus The Rock, right? It's like Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania. It's like the Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. You might have been rooting for one or the other, but if the person you weren't rooting for won, I don't think that would have been the wrong result. I get it what you're saying with Cody Rhodes. A lot of people, they're big fans and they thought this was his time, but this is still another major guy winning this match. So wrong result. They got the result wrong. It's tough to get to, like I said, Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. You might have been a fan of one or the other and you might say they got the result wrong, but either way, it was either Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior winning this match. Either way, it was Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns winning this match. They're both mega stars. Roman Reigns is a mega star. Cody Rhodes, I think, right now is a mega star. So you can't really. This wasn't Matt Riddle versus Cody Rhodes here. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't a mid Carter. This wasn't some low level. This is a mega star still winning. Roman Reigns, whether he's going to be a full time star going forward or not, or he's going to do the Brock Lesnar thing and be a part time champion. The point is, I don't see how they could have gotten it wrong because these are both megastars. And I think just the idea that everybody is questioning that. I mean, literally so many people were leaving the stadium, and so many people I've seen since have all asked the same question. Well, what now? If not Cody, then who? Who's Roman going to face next? And all I can say to those people is, though, that's what makes wrestling the best. If you are literally saying, who next? What now? What's going to happen next? That's the best. I knew, and we talked about this on the show, from Survivor Series to WrestleMania, I had everything planned out. We picked the Royal Rumble winner right down the middle. We picked Sami Zayn turning on Roman at Royal Rumble right down the middle. We picked it was going to happen at Elimination Chamber, the championship match. I knew Roman was going to win. Sami wasn't going to be added. They had the flirtatiousness of Sami being added, but we knew it was going to be Sami at Elimination Chamber, and we knew it was going to be that tag team match at WrestleMania, which it was, and that it was going to be Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. I literally had it picked 100%, a perfect bracket from Survivor Series all the way to WrestleMania, and I picked Cody Rhodes to win. So it's great that literally, Cody Rhodes should have won. I don't want to be 11 for 11. I'd rather be 10 for 11 when it comes to predictions. I'd rather be 0 for 11 when it comes to predictions, because that's what makes wrestling great. What do you think about all this?
I'll be straight with you. I mean, there was no losers in this situation. You got the main event, WrestleMania. So it didn't matter if Cody Rhodes won the match. Didn't matter. Obviously, Roman Reigns came out as the victor. But what kind of got me thinking, and they WWE got me pretty good, is when Cody Rhodes is coming to the ring. I got a little, like onions were getting cut in the kitchen, so to speak. When you get, you see him giving he's giving his family the hugs and everything, and then he gives the belt, his that weight belt to the late great Brody Lee's son, little Brody. Like, I was, -0. Like, I'm just like, this is awesome. I'm like, okay, there's no way he's losing. Like, I was looking on Twitter, like AEW superstars, just wrestlers across the world, like, just as they were starting, there's no way he's losing this match. And they built it up. Even those false finishes that happened. The match that told a great story. There was parts where I'm like, oh my God, Cody Rhodes is gonna do it. Like, even like Michael Cole's like, come on, Cody. It was like there were points where we're like, all right, he's got this match. And then there was points in the match where we're like, oh, here we go. Here's Roman Reigns doing what he normally does. Solo's doing his thing. It was it was so many waves of emotion like throughout that match. They couldn't have done that match any better. And let's be honest, I want to see 1,000 days of Roman Reigns. Like at this point, like I'm totally okay with it. I would have loved to see Cody Rhodes win, absolutely. But you know what? Cody Rhodes is going to get that championship eventually. There's he's going to have his time. It's coming. I'm not too concerned about it.
I guess I wonder too, in the sense of when you say he's going to get his championship eventually, and people go, well, when? My thing is really, and this is kind of what I thought about in the last coming days, is does it matter if anyone ever wins a championship? I mean, Roddy Piper never was a champion. Ted DiBiase never was a champion, except for that one time he got it for a minute and gave it to Andre, but that doesn't count. Andre the Giant never officially was a champion. I mean, there's tons of great people who were. Lex Luger never was a champion. It's okay to never be a champion. And I like the fact that these statistics get skewed a little bit. It's like, let's go back to, like the NCAA tournament, right? Like the number one seeds have the best shot of winning the NCAA basketball championship, right? But it's not 100%. And it probably at one time after tournament number one, it was 100%. And then as years went on, it skewed a little bit. And I remember, they'd always say Royal Rumble winners, cash in and become the champion like 89.9% of the time, because that was the statistics. And I like it when they say it's more like 70% of the time, 65% of the time.
There's a little bit of doubt. It's a little bit of doubt.
There's that little bit of doubt. There's that little bit of doubt. There's that little bit of, that's why people like sports. That's why people like regular sports, because sometimes Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, sometimes they win 5 straight championships, and then sometimes they get upset and they lose, okay? But not everybody's won the Super Bowl. Not everyone's played in the Super Bowl. There's Dan Marinos in the world who've never won a Super Bowl, and it's all right. And that's what makes sports good, because if everybody who everyone liked won Super Bowls, then it wouldn't be as exciting. And I like that this finish. We don't get a lot of heels, and I know we've got it the last 2 years in a row. Great, and more of it, because we've had so many predictable finishes. People say, oh, it would have been the good feeling finish. We've had so many good feeling finishes. And listen, I like going to WrestleMania for the whole aspect of WrestleMania. But the thing I hate the most about WrestleMania is it is the most predictable card of the year. It is literally just all the faces win, win, win. WrestleMania 35, it was Becky Lynch, it was Seth Rollins, it was Kofi Kingston, it was Roman Reigns coming back from leukemia, it was face, face, face. Kurt Angle, in his retire, face, 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 face. Everybody winning, that was a face, and it's always been that. It's John Cena getting the belt over The Rock, because The Rock is not sticking around for a long time. It's Hulk Hogan winning year after year after year. It's Daniel Bryan, him winning, and those are all great moments. But I like that we can have. There's so many WrestleManias, and there's so much wrestling, and I think the big thing is with the whole finish the story. And Triple H said it great during the press conference afterwards. His mantra was finish the story, but here in WWE, we don't ever finish the story. It goes on. It's 24 hours a day, 365. We don't finish stories. And frankly, it's all right if some stories we've seen so many. Bray Wyatt's a great example of so many things that are leading us somewhere and then go nowhere and then they disappear. We've seen Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, and then boom, nothing ever happened from it. And we moved on and we were all right with it, because wrestling just never stops. Some things make sense, some things don't. I would be perfectly fine. I like Cody, like him to stay in WWE. But if he never won the championship and in a year left and went back to AEW, I wouldn't say what a waste it was to have Cody, because you don't always have to have these big major payoffs. Matt Riddle doesn't have to become world champion for me to think I'm interested in watching Matt Riddle.
But it's and to me, like you said, though, with the Cody Rhodes, like, yeah, you know what, could he go back to the AEW down the line? Sure, that's certainly a possibility. But at the end of the day, he's in WWE right now, and we've already seen some really great moments and great memories that, as wrestling fans, we're going to be able to talk about, down the line many years from now. So it doesn't, like, the thing that I just noticed about the internet wrestling community is there's so many people that just are never happy about anything. And it's just, to me, like, just enjoy the story, enjoy the ride. And now, obviously, we saw the Raw after Mania. Now we're gonna see Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. Which they, I guess that was already planned. They've been planning that for at least a month or two, is what what I was seeing on the rumor.
From what Nick Khan said prior to WrestleMania is that WWE writers are about 5 months ahead of everything.
Which is good. That's good. I mean, you know what? I did not mind it. I did not mind Monday Night Raw. That part of it. I didn't think Monday Night Raw itself was anything groundbreaking. We predicted it, by the way. We called Matt Riddle returning. That was kind
I,
of very
I will
predictable.
say I did see. I thought we'd see Randy Orton coming back, and I thought we'd see
I did
maybe
too.
some more. I thought maybe we'd see Braun Breaker. A lot of people thought we'd see him on Raw, and then some people thought we'd see him on SmackDown. And as of right now, we've seen him on neither. So I thought after losing the title at Stand and Deliver, we would see him. I thought we'd see. Oh, and Nick Khan said expect some surprises, and Matt Riddle on Raw was literally like the only surprise. And I will say one thing for being
Yeah.
there in person is, it is what it is, but Pat McAfee did not get the same reception that he got at the Royal Rumble. Pat McAfee did not get the same reception he got last year at WrestleMania. I don't know if he just needs his old theme song back or what it is, but the reception for Pat McAfee at WrestleMania, it was very
Which
it
is
lacked.
weird, by the way. It's so weird, by the way, because Pat McAfee he's a megastar. He's a media sensation right now. It
And I
doesn't
love him,
matter.
and I think people love him, but for some reason, I feel like the segment that he was in, it didn't resonate that well. Now Shane McMahon, obviously, just like the McMahons, Triple H and Vince, had tore his quad in the ring, making a
Yes.
trifecta for that family. But his reaction, like just him coming out, much louder, much bigger, much more of a pop, and I think maybe because Pat McAfee maybe a little expected. Maybe at the Royal Rumble it was kind of a surprise because he'd been gone for a while. But I think people were like, when Pat McAfee's music hit, it was one of those like, here he is again. It is WrestleMania of
Yeah.
all things. We've seen Snoop Dogg here. Why can't we? Pat McAfee's great and all, but if Snoop Dogg's here,
Hey,
it's not out of the realm to see Pat McAfee here.
speaking of Snoop Dogg, what an improvisation, man! With the whole Shane McMahon injury in the ring, like him and Miz and the third person in the ring with the referee, like I think it was Jessica Carr, I think was the referee in the ring. It was the three people that were besides Shane McMahon in the ring. When that injury happened, I'm like, oh shoot, that definitely was not planned, and I'm like, oh boy, what are we doing
Yeah, I mean,
here?
he went down like bouncing off the rope.
Yeah, it was so awkward. I'm like, okay, that was not supposed to happen. And I gotta tell you, the other three people in the segment, Snoop Dogg, Miz, and I believe Jessica Carr was the referee. Again, that they did a hell of a job. Like it was, and the joke on social media was Snoop Dogg got more air on the elbow than he did in AEW. So when he came off the top rope, so it's
Yeah, I mean, he
it was
definitely
awesome.
earned. I know he's already in the Hall of Fame, but
Yeah.
he actually essentially earned it for saving the day in that segment. I will say though that is one of the more odd and very hard to just explain results in WrestleMania history, because of how that happened, and he went down and got the pinfall. I mean, he wasn't the match, or the bell did ring, and it was Shane versus the Miz, and that was quote unquote the official match. So yes, Snoop Dogg got the pin, but I mean, for his history and for posterity purposes, that result doesn't make any sense. Because of the fact that it would have been one thing if he improvised or someone improvised and said, okay, Shane's out, and then he made some sort of acknowledgement that he was going to take his spot, and they re-rang the bell, but he kind of just took his spot and hit. They
I didn't mind it though
I mean, I don't
because
mind it because it doesn't matter,
oh
but
no,
it's just
that,
one of
that
those
stuff
like
doesn't matter.
I
It
wondered
just
like how in the official results in WWE
yeah.
encyclopedias, how are they putting this? What is this officially as?
They'll
It's officially
probably
as Snoop Dogg
they're
beat the
gonna
Miz,
they'll do
I
an
guess.
asterisk. They'll put an asterisk next to it. That's all they'll have to do. It doesn't to me. I don't think that's I
I mean,
don't think that's that big of a deal. I just think to me it was just I just like the fact that the improvisation was so well done that it actually turned into a positive for everybody in the ring except for Shane, obviously. That was unfortunate, but you know what? Good, kudos to everybody involved in that situation. And you know what? I got to tell you, I mean, another star. I think their star has risen even further, and that's Austin Theory. Austin Theory and John Cena. They put on a quality match. That was a pretty good match considering John Cena doesn't wrestle all the time. And Austin Theory just. I think Austin Theory is just again we love the guy.
no,
We've talked
he's
about
the
him so
next big
much.
star. He's the next
Yeah,
John
he's
Cena.
he's huge, and that match was great. I thought it was a good platform to get people maybe on board with the Austin Theory train. And you know what? I'm excited to see what is next for that title reign because I think he's going to take that title to the next level.
Absolutely. I mean, no, Austin Theory is the next. It was like looking at old John Cena versus
That's
young John Cena in the ring when they were in there at the same time.
And it was a good match. And to me, I like the match, and John Cena for not being in the ring, very often these days, it's like muscle memory. He knows what he needs to do. He knows how to hit his moves. Like everything was fine. There was nothing crazy about the match. There wasn't any botches. It was a pretty clean match, very basic, but it got the job done. And Austin Theory obviously looked fantastic in the match, and getting that John Cena rub is going to be good for his career, I think, going forward.
I will say so after night number one, and obviously everyone talks about Cody Rhodes, but you did get your feel good moment. You did get your Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the tag team belts. I was a little preempted because I had moved down into a lower section, and in the section above, or in the suites above where I was in the lower section, give it up for Johnny Knoxville. Not on the camera, not playing to WWE, but just being Johnny Knoxville and like pretending the cameras were on him. He was booing Sami Zayn. He was apparently they had a segment in the before WrestleMania, kind of I think on like Twitter, social media, kind of still hyping up that rivalry. And then, Johnny Knoxville was like living the rivalry in his suite, flipping off Sami Zayn, screaming at him, telling the crowd, when people are saying go Sami Zayn in the crowd, he is pointing down at him like, you suck, shut up, all this other stuff. Like, and I was like, is this WWE like putting the camera on this? Like, he's just doing this. Johnny Knoxville's just having a good time, but he's still like playing the character, like wearing the Intercontinental Chump shirt I think he had on for Sami Zayn, and flipping him off. And when the match came final, like everyone's screaming and yelling, and he's like flipping everybody off and booing.
It was a good match too. I thought that was a good way for the Usos to drop the belts. I thought overall it was another great. You know how I am about these matches. It told a great story, and it was a hell of a match. It's just, if you're gonna drop the belts, that's textbook on how to lose the belts and how to move on. The Usos don't look any worse from this, and it's gonna be good to see what Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are gonna do. We'll see how long their reign is going to be. But I thought that was a good match. I thought honestly I liked the Ripley and Charlotte Flair match. That was fun.
No, I think the match. I mean, the match. I think of the other than the main event. I think the main event definitely was what it was and led up to all expectations. But I think the match that we thought was going to be great, that was great, obviously, was the IC title match.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
Now, here's a question, and people say this about Cody Rhodes, but a better question I think some people need to be asking is with Omos and with the loss of Brock Lesnar is more or less what now for him? How can you keep him being a monster? How can you keep if he's going to just be treated like the Great Khali in that sense, like of just a special attraction when he's in the ring, but you're never going to actually have him go against Roman Reigns or be a real threat to anybody other than just a special attraction.
Well, that here's the thing with Omos. Omos, to me, he nailed it on the head with the Great Khali's comparison. He to me, he's still really raw. Like there's a lot to like about him. Obviously, there's not too many people on this planet that are built like Omos. But the issue for me is he's very raw still. Like. And I give Brock a lot of respect because he gave a little bit to Omos and made Omos look pretty decent in the match. Omos threw Brock Lesnar around like a rag doll, and that doesn't happen very often. So yes, Omos lost the match, but I don't think it necessarily hurts him too bad because it's okay, he bullied around Brock Lesnar, and then Brock Lesnar, essentially he got the win, but it wasn't one of those dominant wins that we've seen him have so many times. So for me, it's just Omos just needs a little more work. He's still wicked raw, and with changes around the scenery in WWE. I'm sure we're going to see Omos on TV a lot more than we have been in the last few months.
But overall, I think WrestleMania in Los Angeles, I know WrestleMania 40 is next year. Philadelphia's got a lot to live up to because, Philadelphia's a great city, but it is not LA. And it doesn't kind of have that cachet. And I know we didn't get Rock and John Cena, but overall, WWE still did everything they could to really give this WrestleMania the biggest feel for any WrestleMania that I have ever been to. When it comes to just advertising, I mean the billboards, and I tell you, there's Philadelphia again, a great city, but I mean to see Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley with their like head to head on big billboards on the world famous Sunset Strip, was like kind of surreal. I mean, I can't tell you how many countless celebrities and rock stars are driving up and down that strip every single day and have to see, all these WrestleMania pictures and banners and posters. It's really kind of cool to see them put on that platform, like in Los Angeles and, and downtown, obviously, LA and by the, crypto.com arena and the convention center. And I would tell you what, I went when the store first opened and there was a line out the door, but I mean, the store first opened. So, of course it's going to be, but it still was surprising in a way because it was still only Thursday morning. So like that shows that a lot of people had already gotten to LA because, in past years, I don't normally get to WrestleMania till about Friday. But I thought, okay, well, the store is open. There's going to be a long line. But it was like that every single day. I mean, there was lines to get in the store for, hundreds of people deep to get in the store. Not even, not just for the checkouts, but just to get in.
How was the selection there? How was the selection of different?
I mean, it was, and the stores just keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, when I said it on one of my videos, there was probably, if you wanted a shirt that said WrestleMania on it, you probably had 70 different choices. Like a lot. I mean, we're talking. There wasn't, like I said, a pair of socks. There was multiple pairs of socks. There was 6 or 7 different hat designs. You could buy a Lakers jersey, a Clippers jersey, a Dodgers jersey, a Rams jersey, a Chargers jersey, but with the word WrestleMania on them. And like I said, every sports team, but with WrestleMania on it in the LA area. You had, all these famous restaurants. They came, which were kind of cool. And I kind of regret maybe not buying one of those because those aren't the ones you see on Shop. But like the Donut Place and Pink's Hot Dogs and Big Bob's Big Boy restaurant with WrestleMania on it because they're famous kind of restaurants in California. So they had like advertising for some for LA centric things.
What about In-N-Out Burger?
They didn't have a tie-in with In-N-Out Burger, but they did have Pink's Hot Dogs, and like I said, they had like
a lot of the staples.
A lot of the staples, yeah, a lot of like the staples, but then with like WrestleMania, like WrestleMania, with like in place of like the word for like Randy's Donuts. I went to Randy's Donut actually, and I didn't realize they had the tie-in right away, but I went there. One of the first things I did when I got there, I had never been there before, and they had a WWE WrestleMania special edition donut. And little did I know that was because when I went to the store, they had a Randy's Donut shirt with presents WrestleMania or welcomes WrestleMania or something on it. So you could.
How was it? How was the donut?
I mean, it was a good donut. It was a fine donut. I
had to ask because you know how that goes.
I mean, I like donuts, but there wasn't a bad donut. It was a very good donut, but I'm not. I mean. It is what it's a donut. But it was just really cool to see all of those different tie-ins and like we talked about in the sense of like, Ray and Dom kind of doing something at Hall of Fame. I mean, it's difficult to do that because Ray and Dom already have tons of t-shirts and so many things around, LA already out for sale. By the time that Hall of Fame came around, I mean, I already had a program, t-shirt, hat, the whole 9 yards. So it's hard to kind of sell something when the store is already selling it kind of thing. They already got it for sale. So it's kind of hard to have matches that are TBA at that time when you're mass producing these things.
I want to take a step back. So you got there Thursday, and obviously
I got there Wednesday.
Wednesday
night, Tuesday night actually.
Gotcha. Okay. So you were there in town pretty early, and you saw a lot of people there pretty early, before all the shows. Was there a lot of people buzzing about even like the Hall of Fame or anything like that when you were there? Do you see a lot of people talking about it?
So like I did not go to the Hall of Fame or SmackDown. But no, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of people in town for wrestling very early. I went to the Jimmy Kimmel show on Wednesday afternoon, and there was people there. In town for WrestleMania. They were wearing their WrestleMania things. Obviously, we talked a little off air here, about me running into a writer in line. It was actually his only day off at LA. He was going he had to obviously work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. but yeah, in the Jimmy Kimmel studio, there was many people wearing wrestling stuff. One was from Britain, I think. Because they asked him where he was from. But like the people already there on the plane ride to LA on Tuesday, there were people going to WrestleMania that day. So it is kind of getting to be like a week long thing. With Philadelphia, I can say that I won't be making such a long week. There'd be no reason to. I've seen a lot of Philadelphia, and I can say one thing for sure is that when I go to Philadelphia, it'll be very wrestling centric for the fact that there's not really many more things I need to see or I'm curious to see or do in Philadelphia.
Well, we're in the Northeast. I mean, Philly's what, a 4.5 hour drive, give or take. So
Yeah,
it's not that far.
Yeah, no, that's not that far. That's why I don't need to be making a week out of it. And then when I'm there, I don't need to be sightseeing. I might go to SmackDown in the Hall of Fame or whatever because I won't need to be sightseeing while I'm there because anything that I would want to see, I can see now. I mean, I plan to probably go to Philadelphia twice at least before WrestleMania next year, for various reasons. So there's not anything I need to, see or do in Philadelphia other than
you've already been to
WrestleMania.
the Rocky statue and things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely will be excited for WrestleMania in Philadelphia next year and want to go to a lot of the shows. But yeah, I don't need to it won't be just a typical vacation like like this was with other stuff surrounding wrestling. I will say I did end up going to NXT on Saturday morning because I wasn't doing anything else. I said I wouldn't, but I did.
I knew it.
A decent crowd, but again, very weird because it's breakfast time. So the buzz like around the arena was pretty quiet, especially at showtime because restaurants aren't even open yet. Nothing around the arena is open yet. It's very quiet. It's downtown on a Saturday morning is not very hopping. It definitely wouldn't have been the same feel as if I went to a sold out arena for Raw, kind of thing. It was. Very, a lot of the fans, were very into it inside the show. But, when you're on the concourse, just using the bathroom, it felt very quiet and subdued. So it wasn't, one of those.
I knew you were going to go, dude. I had a feeling. I was like,
I didn't go last year. I didn't go in Dallas.
I don't know. I just figured you would.
I really only went because other than WrestleMania, I didn't go to any other wrestling things. If I would have gotten a chance to go to Impact or GCW on Thursday, which I didn't because they were sold out and I couldn't get tickets. If I would have had an opportunity to go to something like that, or even like the Ring of Honor on Friday night, I would have skipped NXT. But I wanted to go to something other than WrestleMania. Like that's the whole point of WrestleMania is you get to go to these other supplemental things, and I wanted to go to something other than WrestleMania while it was there for 5 days, throw something else in there. So that's why I went. But if I would have went to Impact on Thursday night, then yeah, I actually probably wouldn't have gone. I might have done something else. I would have. There was Busted Open Radio was doing a party on Saturday morning from the Whiskey a Go Go, and I kind of wish I went to that. I mean, they had David Arquette at it. They had Nina Strauss playing guitar. So I kind of wish I went to that, but I did have those as my options. I would have probably went to that for sure if I had gone to another wrestling show over the week. But because I didn't go to anything else, and WrestleMania is a big deal, but you do, like I said, want to go to something like a supplemental thing while you're there. I was like, let's go to this so I can see something where I can actually have like good seats, sit close, see different people, other than just WrestleMania itself. Overall, it was a great weekend. Had my flight canceled, but got on a flight home. I luckily got my flight canceled on the way home instead of on the way there. So it was stressful, but I got home nonetheless.
So let me ask you this then. So we didn't talk about this before we got on. So how long were you delayed? Like, what was your expected arrival back in Syracuse, and when did you actually get back?
No. So my flight was scheduled for midnight after WrestleMania.
Okay.
So my flight was scheduled for midnight. So WrestleMania got out about 8:45 on the West Coast. I was back to the car by 9:15. So plenty of time. But in the Finn Balor Edge Hell in a Cell match, we got the text message that our flight was canceled. And then after WrestleMania, we contacted the airline. We were going to drive down there to the airport itself, but we contacted them before we got down there, and they got us on another flight on Monday. It was a noon flight, and then it got us back on Monday at midnight. So it was going to be like essentially 12 hours. It was going to be like midnight to noon, and then we'd get back around noon on Monday. But it ended up being noon until midnight on Monday. So we got back Monday night at midnight. So I watched a lot of Raw at the airport. We had a layover from 8 to 10. So from 8 to 10, I watched Raw at the airport in Newark after we had come back from LA to Newark and Newark to Syracuse. So yeah, we got back around midnight. So we ended up just returning the rental car like we were supposed to, and then getting a hotel right next to the airport, next to the rental car place. So we returned the rental car, walked over to a hotel, spent the night in the hotel, and then the hotel had like a shuttle to the airport, and then took us to the airport the next morning around 10 o'clock. So it wasn't. It ended up not being horrible.
And by the way, if you're watching Raw from the airport, it's not like you missed that great of a Raw. It wasn't a groundbreaking Raw after Mania, anyways.
No, yeah, I mean, I was watching it. It wasn't. I will say they originally had us scheduled to fly out on midnight on Monday after we got canceled. They rescheduled us for Monday. So if we ended up having to take that flight, I would have been at Raw. Obviously, because it would have been the same situation just on Monday, where I go to Raw and then go right from Raw to the airport. But it did not work. We did get a flight on Monday to get home, so we could go to work, all of us, on Tuesday. So luckily we won't have that problem next year at WrestleMania. We can just drive. I can stay for Raw and still go to work on Tuesday because I can just drive home in the middle of the night.
Exactly. And I have to ask you, too, what we haven't talked about yet? Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. I got to get your thoughts on this match, because I actually thought the match was pretty good.
The match was pretty good, and I will say Southern California, for those of you who don't know, it's very close to Mexico, and it's very close to San Diego, and I think it's more or less close to Mexico and than it is just San Diego, in that sense of Rey Mysterio being very, very popular. Outside, some of the things that were being bootlegged, other than just shirts, were luchador mask. Luchador mask were selling like hotcakes outside the stadium by vendors. And that's not something you see in Montreal. That's not something you see in New York City. Maybe WWE is selling Rey Mysterio mask, but you're not going to see vendors outside of stadiums in New York City selling various luchador masks. But in Southern California, where that's the population, you're going to see that. And that translated to the whole Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero entrance, very popular. Probably one of the biggest pops of the whole weekend was the Rey Mysterio.
I'll be honest with you. I love the entrance. I love the homage, the paying the homage to the late great Eddie Guerrero. I also did I believe it or not, I like Dominic's entrance as well, where he came in like he was coming straight from jail. Like, that was kind of cool. Like,
give it up to and he made obviously light of it if you follow him on Twitter, but a local Excite Wrestling out of Binghamton, one of their wrestlers, Dan Barry on Twitter. He was, and I noticed right from the entrance, was one of the correction officers in Rey Mysterio's entrance there. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to have that whole entrance. It was silly, obviously, because he's not in jail, and it's just an entrance. It's not like he was coming right from prison.
But I liked it though. It set the stage for a good match. I like seeing at WrestleMania. I know we were talking about the pyro and this and that, but for me, WrestleMania is not only the pyro, but I just want to see some cool entrances. And
I know, like Edge's entrance was awesome and stuff like that. I do like to see cool, like, theatrical. I mean, I love, like, WrestleMania 22 when you had, like, Conan the Barbarian, Triple H entrance, followed by the gangster entrance for John Cena. And that's one of those things, too. I do think that I feel like the main event entrances have kind of come down as of late. I used to like it when entrances were a little more equal. It's kind of weird now because sometimes somebody will get a big entrance, but the other person won't. And then, like, in the main event, for example, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, I think, and even for the tag team championship, I feel like they should have gotten some cool entrances for the spots that they were in. I mean, the entrances were loud and cool in a sense, but they didn't have, that kind of like Conan the Barbarian entrance versus the gangster John Cena entrance. They didn't have the Miz when he had DMX entrance, or like the Rock and Cena when one of them had Flo Rida and the other had MGK. Stuff like that. I like that kind of for a main event.
But hey, Logan Paul got to fly in the sky, like he was swinging in the sky like Shawn Michaels did.
But that was probably the first time WWE has done something like that since Owen Hart. Obviously things like, and I think and I don't know if it was intentional, but kind of an homage to WrestleMania 12 in the Southern California, Los Angeles area, and Shawn Michaels coming in on the zip line. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it is what it is. It's right down the street from the Arrowhead Pond where that took place. and it's probably the most iconic
Hey,
person ziplining into the ring.
and speaking of Logan Paul, that dude is one hell of a businessman. Like obviously it was a quality match. Obviously Seth Rollins did his thing. I thought Logan Paul was going to win, like we talked about last week. But I like the fact that he brought his boy out. I don't know who the guy's name is. It's like one of his like partners.
KSI.
KSI, that's his name. I don't know him very well, but
I don't know him very well either.
I just saw that like they brought him out as like the prime drink like mascot, and they incorporated him into the match. Like that was such great product placement. Whether you like Logan Paul or not, you got to give him and his crew, his marketing team, obviously with WWE partnering up with them, a hell of a job for that. Because if you didn't know about Prime, you're getting Prime drinks.
Well, I will
now.
say this much: this WrestleMania, when it comes to product placement, there was not a WrestleMania or WWE event ever that did not have more product placement than this event. Every match. I mean, it's kind of weird too because that one tag team match was sponsored by Intuit TurboTax, which I think of all. We've obviously seen sponsorships for pay-per-views in the past. That's not new. But like Intuit TurboTax, that's a very mainstream sponsor. That's not your typical Jax Figures, THQ presenter of Acclaim, Samsung. That's not your typical, JVC boombox.
Wasn't Mysterio's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch or something?
Yes, if you're watching on YouTube and I'm holding up the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mask in front of the camera, yes, it was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mask, I got 2 Cinnamon Toast Crunch masks at the Superstore. This was before I had any clue that it was going to be tied in with the match. But they did have Cinnamon Toast Crunch luchador masks that I just presented in front of the camera. And, they gave them to us free in our bags when we made purchases. But after like day one, I think they ran out because unlike the other stuff, they didn't plan on restocking those. They're just giveaways until they run out. And luckily I did get them and I brought them back. And it was, people were wondering, why exactly are we packing these? Can we just leave them in the hotel? We don't need to bring them back. But I've already sold one of them on eBay for $50, and I see other ones going for $99, and I still have one left. So if you're interested in one of these Cinnamon Toast Crunch WWE official luchador masks, like I said, I sold one. It's already at its location. I sold one for $50, and this one's on eBay right now, currently for $60 or best offer. So yeah, I mean that was some of the best free stuff they've ever given me. And I did think it was a little weird with the hokey mascot that they had sitting there at ringside. But, yeah, this was definitely product placement. Obviously, the Pope's Exorcist, sponsored the Hell in a Cell match. Like, it was kind of weird. Yeah.
Dude, I have to get your thoughts on this because I'm like, we were talking about this, when we were, previewing WrestleMania with Finn Balor as the demon. Like, to me, I feel like this whole demon thing with Finn Balor just needs to go away because there's no aura about it anymore. Like, there's nothing to it anymore. Like, it used to be a special attraction, but he loses. He's not. It's not like It's not like it's like, oh my god, he's like so unbeatable. As the demon. And was it a good match? Sure, yes, obviously it was a good match. But like to me, like I think we could have done away with not having Finn Balor come out as the demon.
Yeah, I mean, I do like it in the Hell in a Cell and the Edge, and I did like it obviously tying it with the sponsorship. I did like it here, so I am a fan of it because here's my thing: the demon gives them a way to give him a unique entrance. I think that's the thing here. I mean, see him as a demon all the time.
But it's not about the entrance anymore, though. Really, it was the whole thing. Like, okay, he comes out as the demon, and
then he doesn't lose. Yes. Yeah. I get that he loses, but that I still don't think we, need to drop the demon gimmick in the sense of it's a
then
good.
Then give him some wins with it, then.
It's a good way to give him an interesting entrance. It's a good way because WrestleMania, there's a lot of people who put makeup on or mask on, who don't normally typically wear those things just for their entrance, just for their costume at a big event. So I think for Finn Balor, even if he wanted to just not be the demon, maybe just come out as the demon essentially as his entrance, and then he doesn't have to be the demon in the ring. Similar to how Edge, obviously Edge had the brood kind of entrance before he hit his regular music and came out normally. So yeah, maybe you just do the demon gimmick as like a way for him to like crawl a little bit down the rampway and then the lights go out and then he's regular Finn Balor. So just do it as like an entrance. idea. And
I
again, do
just
it as like for WrestleMania.
see. I just don't like it if you're gonna like, because like for the biggest, like the longest time, like every time, like they always pumped it up, like Finn Balor as the Demon never loses, like he's
Yeah,
undefeated.
well, I
I
think
just, it
fans
lost it
pumped
to
that up.
me.
I think fans kind of pumped that up a little bit more. That he did happen to just win, but I don't necessarily know if that was WWE's intention all along to make him like
Well,
have a
they said it
streak, be
though. The
unbeatable.
commentators said it. Like, I
Well,
mean,
they did, but I don't know if
they were selling it.
that was necessarily like he'll never lose as the Demon because clearly he has
Well,
lost
they
as the
could have
Demon.
made a bigger deal out of it and made more money out of it, and be like, when he loses, it's in a big spot as the Demon, like, oh my God, the Demon finally lost. Oh my God, and make it like make it a WrestleMania moment instead of
Well, if
just
you make
a
it like
regular.
that, then you're putting emphasis on it. And like I said, I don't know if WWE was ever trying to make
Well,
another Undertaker streak or something like that. I
they should
think they
have.
were just making note that yes, as a Demon, he hasn't lost. But it's like Bray Wyatt, they want to give him this special thing, and cool, he's winning his matches as Bray Wyatt, just because that's what the storyline calls for. But they're not trying to say that he's like unbeatable and will never lose. And when he does lose, it's a special occasion. I think they're just trying to say, he just coincidentally has never lost as the Demon.
Well, dude, I mean, that my thing is they present it one way. Like, if you're going to present it a certain way, like you got to stick with the gimmick a little bit better. That's my
Well, the
take
gimmick
on it.
now is there's no gimmick because, like I said, he's lost a few times. So
Yeah, he's lost so many times. It's like going into a pay per view with Bray Wyatt in a match. Okay, we know Bray's losing. That's just kind of how it goes.
yeah, it lost some of its specialness. But I mean, I don't think, I would have been more excited if he wasn't the Demon. I guess that's the thing. I mean, I like the gimmick. I like it for WrestleMania. Like if
It
he
wouldn't
wasn't
take
the
away from the
Demon,
match. The match was good. It didn't take away from the
huh?
quality of a match. It was still a good match. Like the guys put on a good show. And I know we only touched on it just a little bit, but we got to circle back and talk a little bit more about that Intercontinental Championship match. Like that to me was a freaking barn burner from start to finish. I was not. I didn't care who won the match because they kicked the crap out of each other.
And that's another, talk about Roman Reigns and the storyline he's going. Obviously, the Uso story is done in that sense, but Gunther and his championship reign and him kind of being and people talk about, well, who next for Roman, and I'm not saying Gunther, but maybe if it keeps going, who knows? If we do get to WrestleMania next year, that kind of thing, maybe him. And that's kind of some excitement and kind of thing. I think Paul Heyman said it perfect. He said it on Raw in an interview with Ariel Helwani. He was talking about, people saying that Cody Rhodes, it was his time. And, and I'll have to agree with Paul Heyman. He said the same things. Did we or did we not think that it was Drew McIntyre's time? Did we not think the story was perfect for Drew McIntyre? It's perfect. If he's ever going to win the championship, I mean, it's in his home country. Roman's been champion for 2 years. I mean, you couldn't write a better story. And then Sami Zayn, right? If he's ever going to win the championship, he's in his home country, in his hometown. You can't write a better story. All of these situations in that, for, any of these Roman Reigns title defenses, there wasn't a time in where, I mean, obviously like the Logan Pauls, but, Drew McIntyre, I felt Drew McIntyre was going to, when Roman beat Drew McIntyre, I was almost equally as surprised as at WrestleMania because of the fact that I thought the same thing, his home country, the build-up, the redemption story from WrestleMania COVID year, all of that stuff. So Cody's not the only one to kind of have this. And yes, obviously they didn't do anything with Drew McIntyre afterwards, which again is fine. I still find him entertaining. He's in the IC title match. I don't think that's a slight. I think he's doing fine there. He's entertaining. I don't think he's lesser than. Not everybody needs to always be in the championship. Sami Zayn's good in his spot right now. Everybody, Gunther is good in his spot right now. I don't think we need to make him the champion next week, or ever. I think, we just got to think he's doing really good right now, and we like where he is right now. Let's not like put too much on what he is going to be. Let's just wait till we get there. But, if I had to say if somebody was going to be a big star someday, I would definitely say Gunther.
Yeah, I mean Gunther's he's definitely on my short list. Obviously, Austin Theory's another guy. Like those two dudes are going to be. I think you're going to see them on the marquee someday, like in the near future. I think those guys are going to carry the torch into the next generation because let's be honest, Roman Reigns is not going to be here forever. Cody Rhodes is not going to be here forever. You got to
And I'm
you
not
got to
even
have
thinking so
all
much
these new
about
talent.
them. I'm thinking so much about the part timers like the John Cena's and the Brock Lesnar's that are not going to be here
Oh
forever.
yeah,
That, when WrestleMania gets to a point where you can't just call on John Cena and the Undertaker and Trish Stratus and Lita and these people. Yeah, you're going to need Austin Theory and Gunther to lead the way. You're going to probably still have Roman Reigns. Maybe Roman Reigns will be the John Cena then. Maybe he'll be the filming movies but come back for a match once a year kind of thing. But you're going to need the Gunthers and the Austin Theories to be the what Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes
and
are
here's the
now,
thing.
the champions and also house show appearance
And
people.
what we've seen from both those guys, Gunther and
Mhm.
Austin Theory, they have shown very capable of doing that. And here's the thing: if they did it now, I wouldn't be surprised by it because they both are believable. They're both getting a lot of respect in the internet wrestling community. Even people that maybe weren't a big Austin Theory fan, like for example, like they see the gimmick. They believe in the gimmick now. He's pretty much gotten over with the fans in a good way. Whether he's because if you're getting cheered or booed, it doesn't matter. You're getting a reaction, and that's all you need. I mean, both these guys just you know what, WWE's in good hands with guys like that. And you know what? I'm excited to see what the future holds for those guys, but for now, we know they're going to be in that second tier, which is not a slight towards them. They're in that second tier for a reason because you got the Roman Reigns of the world that are still there, Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, those fellas, and those guys are waiting in the wings for when those guys
I mean, they're
take
not
a
really
step
even
back.
waiting that far in the wings. Austin Theory and
No,
Seth Rollins have been main eventing house show after house show for months and
yeah,
months. You know what I mean? So when Roman Reigns isn't at these house shows, Gunther and Drew McIntyre and Austin Theory and Seth Rollins are essentially headlining these live events as we
oh
speak.
yeah,
So and what I have to say too is one's the IC title and one's the US champion. And the best part is these two people are elevating that belt. And right now, the IC title and the US title have been healthy before, but they've also been unhealthy. But I can tell you right now that if Roman Reigns wants to take some time off and we get an IC title match or a US title match as our main event, knowing that those two guys are our champions, I'm all right with it.
yeah.
Like I said, the main events of some house shows are Seth Rollins versus Austin Theory with the U.S. title on the line. And, I know at the house shows we're not getting a change of belt, but I think that it's a main event worthy a spot. And I'm not saying, it's lesser than, and if I go to a house show and it's Drew McIntyre and Gunther as your main event, I think, yeah, Roman Reigns isn't here, but hey, this is still a worthy main event.